Hi, Steve here. As I promised before, I'm going to go through the Book of Enoch, and the last time we talked about demons and evil spirits, and we know the origin of evil spirits now. If you didn't see that video, go back and watch it. I'm starting at chapter 11 in the Book of Enoch. This chapter starts out with God telling Enoch what he's going to do in the future. He says that in those days he will open the store chambers of blessing with chambers which are in the heavens, so as to send them down upon the earth over the work and labor of the children of men. And truth and peace will be associated together throughout all the days of the world and throughout all the generations of men. Chapter 12. Before these things, Enoch was hidden, and no one of the children of men knew where he was hidden, and where he lived, and what had become of him. And his activities had to do with the watchers, and his days were with the holy ones. And he says, "And I, Enoch, was blessing the Lord of majesty and the King of the ages, and the watchers called me Enoch, the scribe, and said to me, Enoch, the scribe of righteousness, go declare to the watchers of the heaven, who have left the high heaven, the holy eternal place, and have defiled themselves with women, and have done as the children of earth do, and have taken unto themselves wives. You have wrought great destruction on the earth, and you shall have no peace, nor forgiveness of sin, and inasmuch as they delight themselves in their children, the murder of their beloved ones shall they see, and over the destruction of their children they will lament, and shall make supplication unto eternity, but mercy and peace shall you not attain." So the fallen angels, those 200 fallen angels who came to earth and mated with earthly women and produced the giants, just like it says in Genesis, they're not getting a good report. And what they had hoped would happen, God is saying through Enoch, is not going to happen now. Chapter 13. And Enoch went and said to Azazel, "You shall have no peace. A severe sentence has gone forth against you to put you in bonds, and you will not have toleration, nor request granted to you, because of the unrighteousness which you have taught, and because of all the works of godlessness and unrighteousness and sin which you have shown to men." Then I went and I spoke to them all together, and they were afraid, and fear and trembling seized them. What does it say in James 2:19? You believe that there is one God, you do well. The devils also believe and tremble. So they begged Enoch to draw up a petition for them that they might find forgiveness, and to read their petition in the presence of the Lord of heaven. From this point on, they could not speak with him or lift up their eyes to heaven for the shame of their sins that they had been condemned by. Then I wrote out their petition and the prayer in regard to their spirits and their deeds individually, and in regard to their requests that they should have forgiveness and length. So here we see Enoch acting as a mediator between the fallen angels and God. "And I went off and sat down at the waters of Dan, in the land of Dan, to the south of the west of Hermon. I read their petition till I fell asleep. And behold, a dream came to me, and visions fell down upon me, and I saw visions of chastisement, and a voice came bidding me to tell it to the sons of heaven, and reprimand them." It looks like the fallen angels are not going to like what they hear from God. Being the first prophet, we see in Numbers 12:6, Enoch was indeed a prophet of God. And he said, "Hear my words, if there be a prophet among you, I, the Lord, will make myself known unto him in a vision, and will speak to him in a dream. And when I woke up, I came to them, and they were all sitting together, gathered together, weeping in Abel's jail, which is between Lebanon and Sennassar, with their faces covered. And I recounted before them all the visions which I had seen in sleep, and I began to speak the words of righteousness, and to reprimand the heavenly watchers." Chapter 14. The book of the words of righteousness and of the reprimand of the eternal watchers, in accordance with the command of the Holy Great One in that vision. I saw in my sleep what I will now say with the tongue of flesh and with the breath of my mouth, which the Great One has given to men, to converse therewith and understand with the heart. And he has created and given to man the power of understanding, the word of wisdom. So has he created me also, and given me the power of reprimanding the watchers, the children of heaven. That's exactly what it says in 1 Corinthians 6:3. Know ye not that we shall judge angels? I wrote out your petition, and in my vision I wrote out your petition, and in my vision it appeared thus, that your petition will not be granted unto you throughout all the days of eternity, and that judgment has been finally passed upon you. Yes, your petition will not be granted unto you. So here we see Enoch giving the judgment of God against the fallen angels, the 200 who came to earth and mated with earthly women and taught them every evil. And from henceforth you shall not ascend into heaven unto all eternity, and in bonds of the earth a decree has gone forth to bind you for all the days of the world. So now we see that not only did God judge them in judgment, but they no longer were permitted to enter into the third heaven, and they will be bound for all the days of the world. Just like it says in 2 Peter 2:4. For God spared not the angels that sinned, but cast them down to hell, and delivered them into chains of darkness to be reserved unto judgment. And that previously you shall have seen the destruction of your beloved sons, and you shall have no pleasure in them. But they shall fall before you by the sword, and your petition on their behalf shall not be granted, nor yet on your own, even though you weep and pray and speak all the words contained in the writing which I have written. So God is making it very clear to these fallen angels that neither would they avoid punishment for eternity for what they did, but their offspring, the giants, would not gain eternal life either, but their spirits would be condemned in the end as well. And the vision was shown to me thus. Behold, in the vision clouds invited me, and a mist summoned me, and the course of the stars and the lightning sped and hastened me, and the winds in the vision caused me to fly, and lifted me up, and bore me into heaven. And I went in till I drew near to a wall, which is built of crystals, and surrounded by tongues of fire, and it began to frighten me. And I went into the tongues of fire and drew near to a large house which was built of crystals. And the walls of the house were like a tessellated floor made of crystals, and its groundwork was of crystal. Its ceiling was like the path of the stars and the lightnings, and between them were fiery cherubim, and their heaven was clear as water. A flaming fire surrounded the walls, and its portals blazed with fire. And I entered into that house, and it was hot as fire and cold as ice. There were no delights of life in there. Fear covered me, and trembling got hold of me. And I quaked and trembled. I fell upon my face, and I saw a vision. And there was a second house, greater than the former, and the entire portal stood open before me, and it was built of flames of fire. And in every respect, it so excelled in splendor and magnificence and extent that I cannot describe to you the splendor of its extent. And its floor was as a fire, and above it were lightnings, and the path of the stars, and its ceiling also was flaming fire. And I looked, and I saw a lofty throne. Its appearance was as crystal, and the wheels thereof as the shining sun. And there was the vision of cherubim. Revelation 4:22 says, And immediately I was in the Spirit, and behold, a throne was set in heaven, and one sat on the throne. Ezekiel 1:16 says, The appearance of the wheels and their work was like the color of a beryl, and all four had one likeness, and their appearance and their work was as it were a wheel in the middle of a wheel. And from underneath the throne came streams of flaming fire, so that I could not look thereon. It was so bright that Enoch couldn't even look at it. And the great glory set thereon, and his raiment shined more brightly than the sun, and it was whiter than any snow. Sounds just like Matthew 17:2 to me. The transfiguration of Jesus, it says, And his face did shine as the sun, and his raiment was white as the light. Are you starting to get the picture here? Everything written in the Book of Enoch confirms the Bible's descriptions too. And the Holy Scriptures confirm the Book of Enoch. They say the same things. None of the angels could enter and look on his face by reason of the magnificence in glory, and no flesh could behold him. It's what God told Moses in Exodus 33:20. You can't see my face, for no man can see me and live. The flaming fire was round about him, and a great fire stood before him, and none around could draw near to him. 10,000 times 10,000 stood before him, yet he needed no counselor. And the most holy ones who were near him did not leave by night, nor depart from him. And until then, I had been prostrate on my face, trembling. And the Lord called me with his own mouth and said to me, Come here, Enoch, and hear my word. And one of the holy ones came and woke me. And he made me rise up and approach the door, and I bowed my face downwards. Enoch was the first prophet, and he was shown things few people have seen. The Apostle Paul saw things that he said he couldn't even speak about. He couldn't describe. That's exactly what Enoch said. The splendor and magnificence was at such an extent he couldn't describe the splendor. The next study in the Book of Enoch, I'll get into some more of the details of God's words to the fallen angels and why such a harsh judgment was passed on to them. Tune in next time when we study the Book of Enoch. Think about it.